Oli here, and this is my review of The Curse of Peladon, the second story of the 9th season of classic Doctor Who, starring John Pertwee as the third Doctor. The Curse of Peladon is the 61st story overall. It's 4 episodes long and is written by Brian Hells. So the plot of The Curse of Peladon is as follows. Taking a test flight in the TARDIS, the Doctor and Jo make an inelegant landing on the planet Peladon. Mistaken for representatives from Earth, the Doctor soon finds himself chairing the committee of alien delegates assessing Peladon's petition to join the Galactic Federation. When one of the King's advisors is killed, the High Priest fears that the ancient curse of Agador is at work, but the Doctor suspects his old enemies, the Ice Warriors, are to blame. Can the Doctor and Jo uncover the identity of the saboteurs before a major diplomatic incident plunges them into war? I think The Curse of Peladon is a really good story, and I like the whole politicalness that went behind the story, and the production of the story was very good. It was really well done. I like the sets and such as the Peladon Castle and the underground caves and all that was there, and I liked the shots that were in the story as well, such as the bit in the beginning when the TARDIS fell off the mountainside when the Doctor pretty much made a bad landing thing after that. And I really liked the script. It was very political and included some very political dialogue, and it was quite good. The direction by Lenny Main was very well done as well, and I liked the duo that the Doctor and Grun had in episode 3. The plot of the story was great as well. It was based on whether the UK should enter the EU, and the sequel, The Monster of Peladon, which aired in season 11, was also based on the EU and the problems the UK faced upon entry. Both stories were anti-EU or anti-Galactic Federation, and that was actually quite good, and it actually makes me wonder if we're going to get like a third story in the to make some sort of trilogy in which Peladon exits the Galactic Federation to reflect Brexit. And I wonder if they're going to have like issues surrounding Brexit or Pexit in this case, such as like failed Brexit or Pexit deals and stuff like that. The acting was really good, I must say. John Pertwee was great as usual. He definitely did a better job in this story than he did in Day of the Daleks. And in this story, the Doctor was pretending to be an Earth delegate to oversee Peladon entering the Galactic Federation, but the Doctor and Jo deduced at some point in the story, and it wasn't actually confirmed until the end that the Time Lords were the ones that actually sent them to Peladon, and that was quite funny. And also another funny scene shortly afterwards when they were about to leave, the real Earth delegate, her name was Amazonia, she comes in, and then I think the ice it was Zilzia. I think I probably fucked up the pronunciation of his name. He realized that the Doctor and Jo weren't actually from Earth, and then they just deposited the TARDIS. It was also quite funny, and I also like the scene when the Doctor and Jo were confronted by Agador, and then the Doctor sang the Venusian lullaby to him to calm Agador down, and that was a very nice scene to see, and I was impressed with John Pertwee when he actually did that, and he was actually singing the lullaby to the tune of God Yes Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. The thing was great as Jo, and I think this story is probably one of her best performances is as Jo, and she does actually get to do a hefty amount in the story, and I think she does actually factor into the plot in some way, because I think they weren't really used to like a man, or I can't really. I think before I muddled up the plot or something, Jo pretty much had to like pretend to be this Earth princess or something like that, and the Doctor was her advisor, and you can tell Katie Manning was really having fun with that scene. And I like the bit when Jo broke into Lord Islia's room to find evidence that the Ice Warriors were up to no good, even though they actually weren't. But then she was caught by the second Ice Warrior, Sorg. And another part where it actually factors into the plot is her romance with King Peladon. Now, I do think the plot was a bit redundant, but I must say Katie Manning did have some good chemistry with David Charlton, considering the fact that the two were actually dating at the time, and the whole romance aspect of the story was they pretty much thought like the other delegates thought that they were probably going to marry, because I think Peladon was like half human or something like that, and they all thought that some sort of marriage was going to happen between them. So yeah, that's another good aspect of I think that's what really factored into the plot as well. So no member of UNIT was actually in this story for the first time since the War Games, and considering the fact that Captain Mike was actually mentioned in the beginning because Joe was actually going to go on a night out with him. And so it's a nice little break away from UNIT and the Earth Exile stories. So on to the side cast of this story. They were all quite good and they're all memorable and rather unique in their own way. For instance, we had King Peladon. He was the ruler of the planet Peladon, so in the Doctor Who wiki his name was Peladon of Peladon. And he was willing to allow Peladon to join the Galactic Youth Federation, but his advisor Hepesh was dead set against it and secretly conspired against it. And he also fell in love with Jo, and I think David Charlton did a very good job portraying King Peladon in this story. And I think his dad, Patrick Charlton, who plays the second Doctor, as you all know, I think he must have been very proud of him. And Alpha Centauri, it was from the planet also called Alpha Centauri, and it was one of the delegates to the planet Peladon. And Alpha Centauri, I think, was an okay character, but even though there were times I did find Alpha Centauri to be a bit annoying, but it did get irritating at times. But I think Alpha Centauri was a bit worse when it came to Monster of Peladon, but it was a good. But I did actually like the fact that Alpha Centauri actually does come back in series 10 of New Who and or something like that. I think it was the Empress of Mars. Yeah, then that's when Alpha Centauri does come back. And we also have the Ice Warriors, Ice Lord Izilzia and his other delegate Sorg. Obviously, they're Ice Warriors and they're delegates from Mars. And the last time we saw them with the Seeds of Death, the Ice Warriors pretty much wanted to take over the Earth by pretty much choking the human race with seed pods. And then I like the fact that they're pretty much set up to be villains because, as we all know, the Ice Warriors we all know were villains and they're quite dastardly. But they were just, I like the fact that they were mainly red herrings, and I like the fact that they weren't actually villainous in this story because Islia actually explained that they had actually rejected their violent lifestyle in exchange for like a peaceful one, but they only used violence as if it was necessary. And I think there was a scene when Joe was actually questioning if it was striving towards peace, why is Saul carrying a gun? And then Islia said, in order to preserve peace, we have to survive. Yeah, but I like the fact that Islia and Sorg decided to help the Doctor to defeat Octorus and Hepesh because the Doctor actually saved Islia's life when the statue of Agdor was about to fall on him. So that was quite good as well. And another factor I liked about the Ice Warriors because Islia is played by Alan Benyon, who played Hitzlar in the Ice and Seeds of Death, and Sorg was played by Sonny Caldinez, who played one of the Ice Warriors in the Seeds of Death as well. So they come back, and obviously Alan Benyon or Islia, he doesn't actually speak like this, and he's actually speaking normally, and it's actually really good. And I like the fact that they omitted that part of the Ice Warriors, because I think that was quite cool. So you can actually hear what he was saying better instead of having them hiss like that. And we also have Torbes. He is the Chancellor of Peladon, and he was Hepesh's brother. He convinced Peladon to take the throne when Peladon's father died, and he also thought that joining the Galactic Federation was actually beneficial to the planet Peladon. But unfortunately, he was killed by Agador. But obviously, Agador was being controlled by Hepesh. And we also had Gron. He is the champion of King Peladon, and obviously unfortunately he was a mute, and he was loyal to the king, and he actually was duped into helping Hepesh with his plans on not allowing the planet Peladon to join the Galactic Federation. But he realized what he was doing was wrong and actually helped the Doctor defeat Hepesh and allow the planet Peladon to enter the Galactic Federation. And we also have Agador. He was the beast that lived in the deep mountains of the planet Peladon, and he was controlled by Hepesh to scare the delegates and harm anyone that came in his way. And the Doctor broke free of that control, and that's when we saw the friendly side of Agador, and he was a friendly, loving creature like myself. And I'm happy that Agador came back in the Monster of Peladon, but I'm sad that he actually died in that story as well. So on to the villains of this story. We had Hepesh, the High Priest of Peladon, and Hepesh was pretty much an allegory of the member of the UK Conservative Party, as we Brits call them, Tories. Hepesh was against Peladon joining the Galactic Federation because he thought that the planet Peladon would be easily exploited, and conspired with Arcturus to ruin the chances of getting into the Federation. He was a well-acted villain. He was acted as a foil to the Doctor, and he was quite good at that as well. And he was also also an interesting character, and he was killed by Agador towards the end of the story. And I think he had a very sad death with King Peladon as well, and that was a well-acted scene. And we also had the other secondary villain, Hepesh's ally Arcturus. He was a delegate from the planet Arcturus, and he joined the Galactic Federation because his home planet was poor in minerals, and he planned on allowing planned the planet of Peladon to join the Federation, so Arcturus can easily just exploit Peladon of all its minerals and stuff. I like the fact that he was an unexpected villain because he was an ally to the Doctor and everyone else, trying to find out what was going on behind the scenes and all that. Even though it was actually him, and I think he even faked an attack when, and I think his vital parts were sabotaged and it almost killed him. But I think Isley explained that it only rendered him in like some sort of coma. It didn't actually kill him as such. So, but he met his end when the Doctor and Gron were fighting, and then I think Arcturus is about to kill the Doctor, but then Sorg saw this and killed Arcturus as well. So I think that was a good end to Arcturus. So I think the fault in the Curse of Peladon actually lies with the romantic subplot with King Peladon and Jura. I did feel as if it was too melodramatic and a bit too lovey-dovey and all that, and I think he even offered his hand in marriage to her. I don't really think that I wouldn't. I don't really think it was necessary to the plot. But I didn't really think it was that need. I don't think it was needed a lot because it was pretty obvious Joe was going to go back to Earth anyways with the Doctor. So yeah. So to sum up, the Curse of Peladon is an interesting political metaphor with interesting side characters and is an underrated gem from the Pujampa 2 era. I give the Curse of Peladon a 9 out of 10. So my next review will be the Sea Devils, the debut of the iconic Sea Devils and the return of the Master, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching this review. Please let me know what you thought of the Curse of Peladon and this review as well. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. Until then, see you later.